Greetings all! I thought it would be instructive to make a video about my first impressions after having played Rogue Trader Warhammer 40k beta for about 12 plus hours now. So it's not a complete review by any means, it's a first impressions, a sense of where it's going, and what I think about the game. And I thought I'd make this video because I don't know a tremendous amount about Warhammer 40k, a little bit, but from what I do know, I'm not a huge fan of the grim, dark genre as a whole. And secondly, why not? After all, this is an RPG channel, ultimately. So, I have to say at the outset, as far as the positive things are concerned, I think Owlcat has done a very good job. I say this in the sense of being a Pathfinder loyalist, as it were, and having purchased the beta, in part as a consequence of being a Pathfinder loyalist and appreciating Owlcat's work, I thought, why not give it a try, even though I am not entirely enamored of the grimdark Warhammer 40k setting. And I think overall Owlcat has done a very good job of implementing this setting into a RPG. And there are a number of reasons for this. One of the things is 40k lore is just... there's no word for it. It's enormous. It's incomprehensible. There's so much. And you don't get totally overwhelmed by that. They try to work it in slowly but surely. There is an index or an encyclopedia that you can click on that gives you brief descriptions of things. So if you're not familiar with the setting, it's a way of acquainting yourself with things. But I think most importantly, at least how Owlcat has done it, they made it so that it's not terribly important you understand everything about the 40k universe. You get to know a little bit about the different factions, their roles, etc., etc. It's enough for you to form a picture. The story so far has been okay. I'm not overwhelmed by it, but overall, it's pretty good. And the characters, specifically the companions, are reasonably interesting. I would say one thing, though. Despite Owlcat doing a relatively good job, I still think that if I were a die-hard Warhammer 40k fan, then I would appreciate the game a lot more. The subtleties, the nuances, etc., etc. Because in my short time of making an effort to get acquainted with 40k, I've learned that there's not really a such thing as casual 40k fan. People who are into 40k are really into 40k, in a way I've scarcely seen in tabletop games in my entire life. So for example, when it comes to D&D, some people are casual. They play a little bit. They don't know every detail about every god and every wizard and every organization. And it's okay, you don't need to know that to necessarily play the game. And with 40k, it just kind of feels different. So again, as somebody who is not very experienced and a little bit averse to the grim dark genre, I think I would appreciate this a lot more if I were really into 40k, because I'm approaching it as a 40k layperson thinking, this game is an RPG, how does it measure up as an RPG? And I think, as I said, the introductions are pretty good, the aesthetics and art is pretty good. One thing they've done pretty well is to get invested in the actual story. I'm not going to spoil too much, but needless to say, you become this rogue trader rather quickly, and you have a lot of tasks ahead of you, and I think you're made to care a little bit about your role and how you interact with things. In terms of the RPG mechanics interacting with the story, you basically have this tripartite conviction system, one related to the Imperium, one related to generally being a good person, and the other one related to being an adherent of chaos or evil, however you want to put it, which is decent enough. I haven't had too much exposure to that, but there's a lot to take in. Tons and tons and tons of text and tons of things to read. Tons and tons of dialogue options, far more so in any of the Pathfinder games. To talk about the combat. The combat is okay. I'm not playing on the hardest difficulty at the moment. I am wet behind the ears. I'm just playing on normal. It is turn-based, and it is very similar to games, as you would expect, such as XCOM, where you have a number of action points, and depending on how many action points you spend, you can do certain things. As this is just a first impressions, I don't have too much other than what I've already said to say. Pretty good overall, but I would say it doesn't really suck me in. This is not turning me into a passionate devotee of Warhammer 40k, which is fine, but I think it's a game that I could enjoy. Now, I'm not going to recommend to anyone that they buy a beta, an unfinished game. If you really want to, if you really love Owlcat, by all means you can support them doing that. If you love 40k and you love RPGs, then it's kind of hard to pass up, right? This is very much the embodiment of what you've been waiting for probably decades now. But no, I don't think this game ultimately will convert you into an acolyte of the 40k universe, but I do think, from what it's shaping up to be, it will turn into a memorable RPG that is fun and interesting and decent to play. But I can't stress that enough. Namely, having an investment in a particular setting is very important. And I think in the case of 40k, I don't have that investment. Maybe you do. I had much more of an investment in Pathfinder, and even more of an investment in Dungeons & Dragons or the Forgotten Realms, and so the ability to connect to things, the ability to recognize things, and appreciate the subtle details, cumulatively I think has a positive net effect, and it makes you like the game all the more. It's what turns a pretty good RPG into a great RPG, but that appreciation of a setting as a fan contributes a lot to what we ultimately like about games. A game can be good on its own, but when we really, really like the setting, when we have a background in that setting, the game can become truly amazing. And as far as this is concerned, again, only 12 plus hours in, I don't foresee that. I think I will enjoy this game. It might be somewhat memorable, but that's about it. We'll see when I'm done with the beta. I'll probably make another video about finishing the beta at some point in time, and then later down the line, probably make a full video or a few about the fully released game. Time will tell, but these are my thoughts for now. Anyway, if you've played the beta so far, let me know what you think about the beta in the comment section, because I'd really find that interesting. Until the next time, thank you for tuning in as always. If you can leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz would be much appreciated. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.